Hi, everybody. We're back today with another episode of Howie's Hometown Heroes, where we feature business owners, entrepreneurs, and community members who are doing extraordinary, amazing things right there in their own community. Today, we're in Houston, Texas. You know where there's barbecue and horses and cows and all kinds of funny stuff. Anyway, I'm here with my good friend, Tim Mousel. He's a kinesiology professor at Lone Star College. He's been there since 2006. Lots of physical stuff going on there. He's a great guy to do that. And some of the things that I think he's really interesting, that I find particularly interesting, he's very into martial arts, but not just Taekwondo or not just judo, but like all of it. I mean, not only as a student and practicing, say professional, but who's competes at the highest levels, but also an instructor in all those things. So that's pretty impressive. It takes a lot of dedication and a lot of time and effort in the gym. And he says a couple of broken bones in black and blue, so that keeps him going there. So, and he also owned a martial arts gym and a personal training gym in that area too for a while. So really great guy, really great guy. It was great fun getting to know him. So Tim, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm happy to be here and happy to chat with you.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's talk about this kind of stuff. First I want to ask you is there a fun fact about you? Something we wouldn't know that would say, I didn't know that. That's really interesting, Tim.
I guess something you have discussed, another life passion is I started riding dirt bikes when I was 8 years old. And typically try to go ride motocross like once a week. Wow.
And you're a big guy to ride those little motocross bikes, right?
My motorcycle is bigger than I am.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there's some fun photos I want to see there too. Very cool. Very cool. So Tim, tell us a little about how'd you get into kinesiology? How did that kind of all come about?
It actually started when I was 12 years old. I initially became extremely interested in martial arts. As I started reading about martial arts and learning more about it, I started understanding the fitness component, how important that is, that you have to be in great shape and how to train and how to maximize your body's performance. So that led me to the kinesiology field. And then when I was in high school, my number one interest was still just martial arts only. And the head track coach would see me training in the gym, so I trained pretty hard. So he tried recruiting me for the track team, which I had no interest, but then I thought, you know what? If I run track and if I become a sprinter, that'll make my kicks faster.
Okay.
So I joined the track team, and then I actually started to love track. So I ran track as a sprinter, and that did help my martial arts conditioning and my kicking speed. So it was a win-win situation. It turned into a sport I really loved, and it helped my sport of martial arts that I really had a passion for.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great. It's great. It's funny how those sports kind of one complements another. Well, it happens pretty frequently. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty cool.
So that whole interest in martial arts and fitness led me to become a physical education major in college. And after student teaching, I quickly realized I did not want to teach elementary PE. So I went on, I got my master's degree at the United States Sports Academy down in Alabama, so that I could then teach college. So college teaching in the kinesiology department is really fun for me. I love it. It's doesn't feel like work to me.
Oh, there you go. That's what they say, right? If you love what you do, you'll never work another day. There you go. There you go.
Exactly.
And what kind of things do you do? What do you learn in a kinesiology class or a curriculum?
The class that I'm teaching right now, so over the years, I've taught a lot of different courses, but the class I'm teaching now is called Introduction to Physical Fitness and Wellness. And this is a unique approach because the students are required to wear activity trackers because I have a fitness component. So they have to either walk a certain number of steps per day or do a certain number of activity minutes per week. And they do a pre and post fitness assessment so we can track to see how their fitness level has changed.
Yeah.
They do 8 quizzes. They do a final exam written, and they have to track their nutrition for 3 days and then write a paper analyzing what they eat based on current recommendations.
Hmm.
So doing that led me to create a software called eFit software. So I taught myself coding back in 1997-ish.
Oh, the olden days. It's the olden
Back in
days.
the old, yes, absolutely. So I created the program eFit that automatically tracks all the students' activity and uses a grading algorithm to assign grades based on their activity, keeps track of their fitness assessment data, their improvement levels, as well as integrating AI to give them custom meal plans based on food preferences and budget, as
Hmm.
well as custom cardiovascular programs, weight training routines.
Wow.
And with the AI, I created an ebook. And then with the ebook, I wrote code that the student can highlight a word, a sentence, or a paragraph. And then that will automatically, through AI, explain that concept to the student in easier to understand terms and wording
Oh,
in a very encouraging way. So it's kind of like an instant tutor for the students.
wow.
And then another cool AI feature that I built into it is that the students write their paper with the nutrition analysis. They put it into my eFit software. And what that does, it compares the students' writing to the assignment and the grading rubric, and then gives them specific feedback based on their own writing. So it doesn't write anything for them. It just coaches them on how to write a better paper. So it might say, you are supposed to explain for the assignment how carbohydrates affect your body and your performance. You didn't quite say too much about that, so go back and expand your ideas on that. So then
Oh,
students can go back, rewrite it, come back and get more feedback. And the last 3 semesters I've been using that, it's been really interesting because the quality of the papers, the quality of the students' writing has really improved. So
hmm.
I think it's a remarkable learning tool for the students to become better writers.
Right. So it carries over to other classes even. Actually,
Absolutely.
if you track that too, not just in your class, but in other classes?
I have not.
Ah, okay.
Well, that would be an interesting study,
That would be an
yes.
interesting experiment, wouldn't it? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. So I understand I think that's a great tool combining, some electronics and data gathering stuff like a Fitbit or one of those kind of things to real data. That sounds like a great way to do that. Where did the AI component come in? What drove you or got you to go along that path?
So ChatGPT came out November 30th of 2019.
Mhm.
And actually not 2019, it was 2022. So that was in November 30th, but previous to that, like 3 months earlier, like in August, I learned about the company OpenAI that
Oh,
created
sure.
ChatGPT. So
Mhm.
when I read about the capabilities of what OpenAI was working on, it really just blew my mind. And I
Yeah,
immediately knew this is not going to just change education. It's going to change the world around us.
sure.
So every single day since then, I totally immersed myself in AI. There's not a day I haven't spent several hours just studying and learning about it.
Wow. Wow.
So 3 months before ChatGPT was even released,
Right.
I released an AI-based program called Pocket AI
Yeah.
online. And that enabled educators to input their assignment, the grading rubric, and then the students logging on the student side, and they can get that instant feedback for the papers that they're writing for any grade level, any subject.
And it's
And then I incorporated some other tools where they can create different assignment ideas. And a really important tool in it is it will create assignments for any subject, any grade level. And you can select one that integrate AI so that the student has to use AI to do the assignment.
Oh,
Then it will do other assignments that make it really difficult for students to use AI depending on the approach you want to take. It will create, quizzes, exams, or if you give it your quiz, it will create a study guide that you can share with the students. So there's a lot of really great tools that I put into Pocket AI that helped me as a professional, but also helps other educators as well.
oh, well, have other professors at Lone Star College started to use Pocket AI in their classes?
So I've had several, I haven't checked the numbers lately, but I've had probably 500 educators sign up to use it.
Oh,
And so they're using it. And then like EFIT, just on Lone Star campus, Cypher campus, Lone Star College Cypher campus, there's about 1,000 students that use that
wow,
every semester.
wow. A-
So yeah,
And what?
it's getting a lot of use.
Oh, that's good. Well, that's certainly good. That's really good. And you've got a lot of data now to kind of
Yes, lots
right
of data.
munge together to kind of figure out what's going on.
Hmm.
And how far can you spread this out? I mean, you can spread it out really anywhere, right? Any
In
grade level,
term,
anything.
oh yeah, yeah. Any grade level, any subject, it's the Pocket AI is just very comprehensive and flexible for a lot of different uses.
Mhm, mhm.
With the EFIT, that the tracking is really for any class that has an activity tracking component. Traditionally, the way it was done is you assign students, you have to work out 3 days a week and turn
Oh,
in your Word document or your Excel spreadsheet
yeah.
with a list of the exercises you did and your workout. So, of course, I look at that and I say, okay, Monday you did this, Wednesday this, and the week after week, it kind of looks like copy and paste to me. You know,
Oh,
you didn't do this, you just made it
yeah.
up. And so what I like is that the activity trackers and the EFIT keep students more accountable for their
Mm.
activity. So they're not turning in their exercise logs. That's being reported automatically. Fitbit and Google Fit share their data with EFIT, and then it's all compiled
All
and
compiled together.
calculated through EFIT.
So there's no way they can find, you say you ran 5 miles, but you really only ran three. And can't
Exactly.
do it. Can't do it.
Right,
Or,
right.
or it's a, or it doesn't count. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
just, if there's no data.
Some people say, well, what if a student puts the Fitbit on their dog? Well,
Oh, okay.
if they do that, there's not going to be any activity minutes. So it's pretty clear something's going on.
Something's going on.
And in my experience of using this for EFIT, I created, I don't remember now, it's at least 8 years ago, I would
Yeah.
say. I would say the majority of students wear it themselves and they try to do and they try to achieve, because I see all types of grades. I see A, B, C, D, as well as F.
Ah,
And I really sense that students really want to make a difference in their fitness and their health. I get reports from students every single semester. I've lost 10 pounds this semester. I've lost 20. I've had some students lose 30 pounds.
wow.
And the activity requirement combined with the nutrition assignment, where they start eating healthier once they find out what the health impact of their nutrition is,
Mhm.
they make incredible changes. And what's nice is it not just changes their weight, but it changes their life. It changes their self-concept, their self-image, their
Sure.
confidence, and they just feel better about themselves.
Huh.
And it's just such a great outcome. And every single time I hear stories like that, I think any of the negatives associated with all this is replaced by all those great stories
Oh,
of
it's
all these
nice.
successful students.
Yeah, I like that. In fact, that was one of my questions. I mean, you hear all kinds of ethical dilemmas about using AI for education. Uh, do you run into any of those kind of issues, or what are you thinking about those?
So in my class, AI has been a huge benefit, a positive thing, because of the way that I'm using it and the way my
Yeah.
students are using it. The negative part comes in when students write 100% of their paper using ChatGPT. They
Oh,
say, write an essay about this, and it writes it and they turn it in. They don't learn anything from that, and there's no benefit to the student from doing that. Fortunately, in the 3 semesters that I've had AI integrated into the course, and since ChatGPT came out, I've had a total of what I have detected of 2, possibly 3 students that have used it.
oh,
And the reason for that is the nature of the assignment makes it extremely difficult to use AI effectively because they have to track using an app such as Fitbit or MyFitnessPal. They have to track their nutrition for 3 days. So that's something they have to manually enter into there
okay.
or scan food labels. Then when they write their analysis paper, the steps they take would be very hard for AI to do because they have to compare the specific macronutrients of food that they ate to the recommendations and how it makes them feel. So all those numbers have to match up. If they used AI to do it, it would be more work probably than just writing it
Oh,
themselves.
just right then doing it for real in the first place.
Yeah.
Ah,
The 2 students that have used AI, one of them used it for an extra credit paper that she was given a special allowance to do because of an injury that she couldn't do the physical. So, okay, write a paper. The paper comes in, I read it. I said, I'm 100% certain that this is AI. Now, just to appease my curiosity, I ran it through 3 different AI detectors. And the reason I say to appease my curiosity is that research study after research study shows that AI detectors do not work.
oh,
They
interesting.
are not reliable. They are not accurate. There's many cases of false positives where a student wrote the paper themselves, but AI says, AI wrote it.
Hmm,
Then the educator says, hey, you wrote this with AI when in fact they didn't. In fact, one Texas A&M professor failed half of his class because he took the papers and he put it into ChatGPT and he said, did you write this? And of course, it made it up, said, yeah, I wrote this. So he failed the students. And it turns
Oh,
out they
no.
didn't use AI. So
Oh,
he
no.
became probably worldwide famous for the wrong reasons
For the
for
wrong
failing
reason.
his
Oh, my
class.
gosh.
But anyway, with this paper, I read enough ChatGPT that I feel I can detect it pretty well.
You can tell. Yeah.
I can tell most of it. But anyway, this was obvious. I had zero question that was GPT written. The detector said it was human written. I'm like, that's ridiculous. I know it's not. So just to play the game, I emailed the student and I said, hey, I read your paper. To me, it really appeared to be written by ChatGPT. And I also assume that you use Quillbot to rephrase it to get it past the AI detectors more easily. I said, in exchange for your grade, this will not affect your grade at all. I want your honesty. Tell me, what was your prompt? What tool did you use? And what rephraser did you use? She wrote back and she said, okay, you're right. I used ChatGPT. Then I used Quillbot to rephrase it. And then I turned it in. I said,
Ah,
thank you for your honesty, but in the future, I suggest you do the work yourself so you can learn from it. And not all professors will be as understanding and as accommodating as I am.
ah.
And she said, yeah, good point.
Good point.
So that was that one. The other student that turned in a GPT written paper, I did not even have to address the GPT because the paper was so poorly done.
Oh,
It did not follow the requirements of the assignment. They received a 47% on their paper.
oh, that's not too good.
No, that's enough. And I didn't even have to address the AI because it was already an F anyway. So their paper failed.
Yeah.
Had they written the paper themselves, it probably would have been better if they followed the instructions. And in my estimation, those are the only 2 people that used AI. And
Oh,
again, I think because the way the paper is structured, it's easier just to write it themselves than to have AI try to do it.
is that part of well, I want to say pocket AI, or is that part of some of the system that you do, or how much, I'm trying to think of how to ask this. How much AI help do you get in creating the other stuff, the curriculum and the quizzes and all that kind of stuff you use?
Well, fortunately, this nutrition assignment had been in place long before generative AI came along.
Oh, okay.
I just got lucky that the assignment is difficult for students to use AI to
Oh,
complete.
huh,
So that was just luck on my part. But it turns out that, it's hard to use AI on that assignment.
on a lot of stuff to do.
Um, all of my quizzes, exams, EFIT, all the coding and programming, that
Uh-huh.
had already been completed in place before AI.
Oh,
But I will say this, if I should be tasked to create a brand new course, I will create the exams with AI.
uh-huh.
I'll create the final exam. I'll create study guides. I will create assignments. Now, keeping in mind, every single thing that I create with AI, especially exams and assignments, I am going to thoroughly check because AI has the reputation to hallucinate.
Yeah,
It will
yeah, yeah.
make up things very, it sounds very accurate and it sounds very convincing, but if you actually fact check it, it's wrong because AI does not work based on facts. It works based on probability. So if I say to you, and I want you to complete my sentence for me, my dog ate my
Homework.
homework. Is that true or false? Maybe true, maybe
Maybe
false.
not.
But probability states the next word is
Is
homework.
homework.
The truth could be it ate my sandwich. That might be the true thing. But AI doesn't care about the truth. It cares about the probability,
Oh,
which
really?
it will tell you it ate my homework.
Uh-huh.
So that's why it hallucinates because it's not based on fact, it's based on probability.
Mm.
So if it's trained on the right facts, the probability is that it feeds back the correct information. But because you don't know how it was trained or what data it was trained on, the assumption is that most of the time, yes, it will be accurate, but you still have to double check it for facts.
Especially if there's facts involved in the, not just
Yes.
opinions or other ways of doing things.
Right.
Oh,
So I would never ever create an exam and use it as is.
as
I would
is.
have to verify every single question and read through it. And even assignments, like Pocket AI makes really great assignments. But I would still read the assignment and I would ask myself, does this fit my teaching style? Does this fit what I'm trying to achieve? If it doesn't, that's fantastic. I have a strong base that I can start making some minor modifications for.
Modifications.
Now I have a fantastic assignment that I
There
would
you
have
go.
never thought of on my own.
You go. And so it's really, you use it like I hear other people, like the intent is really instead of starting with a blank canvas and you got to make it all up, at least ChatGPT or whatever version of things you use can at least give you a start and then move forward from
Absolutely.
there. Okay.
Yes. Give you a head start, give you ideas, and from there you can run on your own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I have a friend that's going back to school later years. And I said, hey, so are you going to write your papers with ChatGPT? Immediately, no, why would I do that? I would not learn anything about my course or about the subject if I did that. And that's true. That's a great mentality and that's a great approach. Um, but there is a point where in education, it's important that students do get practice using generative AI tools because 1,000 hiring managers were surveyed and 91% stated ChatGPT experience will be required to get jobs in the
Oh,
future. And really the future is basically here now.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And hiring managers, one study survey said that, others have basically duplicated those numbers that in the high 90%, students have to have generative AI skills for their future jobs.
Hmm.
If they don't, they will get hired by students that do have that experience.
Oh, there
So
you go. Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
very important that students and really anyone in society has experience using these tools because if they don't, they're going to get phased out.
Phase out, sure.
Productivity increases dramatically in many cases using generative AI. And so if you have two employees, both A+ workers, one of them starts using AI tools, they're going to be so much more productive than that other great worker.
Yes, yeah.
And eventually, I would expect everyone is going to be skilled at using these tools, because they're going to start to understand if they're not, they're going to be left behind.
There was,
And
yeah,
college
go ahead.
college faculty ask me all the time, do you think we're going to be replaced by AI? And my answer is, I don't think we will be replaced by AI. As educators, you bring so much to the table. You bring life experience,
That's sure.
you bring empathy, you bring life skills from living your life and experience and working with other students. But what I think could happen is you'll be replaced by other faculty that are using AI. And I tell them, think about it like this. Many students go to rate my professor and they read the reviews before they select who they're going to take a class with.
Oh.
So if they go and they read about one professor, yes, we had to write 10 papers, read the book, and do an exam. Standard class. Then another review, we did this with generative AI. We did this really cool assignment that opened my eyes to all these different possibilities. It was fun. It was enlightening. I learned a lot. Who are the students going to go to? They're going to take the fun, exciting, interesting class.
Sure.
The other professor's not going to have enrollment, and eventually their numbers are down. They will get phased out of a job. That's what I could foresee happening in the future once more faculty and educators start utilizing and integrating AI into their courses.
Kind of coming on board. And you said earlier about if, like even the one student who used ChatGPT to write a paper and didn't learn anything, I was thinking, but they have to be learning something about what they did, right? I mean,
yes, very little, but the thing is this. If a student turns in a really, really great paper, AI generated, at this point in time, I know that this student has learned great prompting skills. They learned how to use the tool.
How to use the tool.
And they learned how to direct it to give the output they want. That does take skill. That takes, in many cases, analytical skills, critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Just being creative in how you approach it. But when a student doesn't use any of those skills at all, and they say, write a paper that talks about nutrition, and they turn that in as is, I don't see that that's any benefit to anyone. Nice. But if they say, write a paper about nutrition and make sure you include these points and understand that the recommendation is this, and then they get the paper and then they proofread it and they rewrite parts of it, or they even say to AI, hey, this was not written well, expand on this idea and give 3 more points about why protein is an important source. Now they have an understanding of things, and they're editing the work, they're proofreading it, they're fact checking. And that's an example assignment. You might have a student write a paper with AI, then they have to go back and fact check, not just fact check, but they have to verify their facts with sources. So they have to give legitimate citations. So now they're doing research, they're doing analysis, they're doing critical thinking. They're not necessarily writing a paper from scratch, but they're doing all these other things with these other skills that I just mentioned. That's where benefit can come in from using AI. And I had a Texas A&M student say to me once, why should I have to write a paper? I can pull out my phone and say this and I have a paper written. It's not a skill I'm going to need in my future. But writing is a skill that everyone will always need in their future, because how do you get fantastic educated prompts? You write them. So that's still a skill that's very important. In fact, that skill of writing and analysis and creativity, those skills are going to be more important in the future than technological skills. Because that's how you interact with the AI, is with these other skills. So writing still has its place, and students do need to be aware of that and understand that.
And so can you extend that on and also and say, can I ask ChatGPT to give me prompts to get more detail on a particular subject?
You could say, hey, here's a prompt. How could I ask this prompt better to achieve these following objectives?
Objectives, yeah.
And then it can rewrite the prompt. But the thing is, you write your prompt, you ask it for a better prompt. When you read that prompt, you learn
Yeah,
how
you're
to
still
write you still learn how to write a better prompt. And prompting skills, at least now in its current generation of GPT-4, is still a very important skill. Maybe in the future, generative AI becomes so good that prompting skills become less necessary. But that analysis and verifying that it's the output that you want, that's a skill that's always going to be important.
Mhm.
Even if it turns out perfect output, does it meet my objective? Is it what I want? Is it what I need? Does it meet the requirements?
Always a requirement of what the writing is in the first place.
Uh,
Wow, that's awesome. So where do you see all this going? I mean, it's like every week there's a new AI tool to do all kinds of different things.
Quick
I don't want to say where's
correction.
it going to end, but where's it going next? Even like next week, what's happening next?
Yeah, quick correction on that. It's not every week.
Okay,
It's every day.
every day. Oh my God, it's even
It's
worse than I
it's
thought. Yeah.
it's just so many amazing changes that occur every single day in all these different tools. So when you're looking at that, people can become very overwhelmed. It's like,
Yeah.
how do I keep up? It's impossible. And it truly is impossible. Don't feel like you have to keep up with the daily changes. And what I would recommend for people that have never used it, what I always say to college faculty is I say, you give assignments all the time. I'm going to give you an assignment now. Your assignment is to start using generative AI. Because when I go speak at different colleges to different faculty, I always ask the question, how many of you have never used ChatGPT?
Oh, good question.
And as recent as a week and a half ago, I'm seeing 60% of college faculty hands
Oh,
rise in the air.
wow.
And it's so important that all educators, actually everyone, even in the workforce, uses ChatGPT,
Yeah.
because you have to understand how it works and what its capabilities are. And if you don't, how are you going to help your students? How are you going to be more productive in your job when you're facing other people that are using it?
Mm.
So, just AI education, AI awareness needs to take place for everybody community wide. It's such an important thing.
Okay.
So what I recommend for people that have never used it is to use it. Go to bing.com, click the chat icon, and right there you can use the version GPT-4 for
Right.
free. Just start playing with it. Ask it questions. Think about something you want to get from it. Ask it the question. If you don't like the output, ask yourself, how could I ask my question differently to get what I want? And start playing around with it. You don't need to do a course. You don't need to study. Start using it. That's the best
Mm.
way.
That's the best
Once
way.
you start using it, you get comfortable and you start figuring things out, then you can start looking into some of the different prompting skills and prompting tactics. For example, if you say, my job depends on it, accuracy is increased from 8 to 20% just
Oh,
by adding that to your prompt.
wow.
Yeah, well, I was right. You tell it, take a deep breath and think through this step by step. Your output increases dramatically in many cases. So there's a lot of prompting tactics that can be used to improve your output, but don't worry about that. Worry about initially just getting your feet wet. Just
Getting
use it
feet
and
when
try
it's
it
using
out.
it. Yeah. Yeah. There was
There's a
oh, go ahead.
bill that was recent, December 15th. There's a bill being put together for AI literacy, not just for schools, but for community. And the
Mm.
goal is that everyone needs to be AI literate. And that's what this bill is hoping to achieve. And there will be, for education, there will be grants available, assuming that everything goes through. But that's a great initiative because it's very important for society as a whole to use and understand AI, because unfortunately, people that don't use it will be left behind. And that's going to a great digital divide. There already is a digital divide,
Right.
but this is just going to exacerbate it and really shoot it sky high unless steps are taken to get everybody involved with it.
There was I mean, that's pretty amazing. In fact, I was going to ask you all the questions I was going to ask you. You just answered all of them. So now, well,
So
about
now
a
you-
year ago, when did ChatGPT 4 come out? Last year? About a year ago? Or
Yeah, less than a year.
I think about a year ago? Just before that, I was at a Chamber of Commerce breakfast. You know, they have speakers and stuff. And there was a guy from the New York State. He was a consultant, but he was part of the education system, all kinds of stuff. And he gave a whole presentation about ChatGPT at the time, and it was 3. And he didn't say he wasn't quite as detailed as the way you were describing things, but his whole premise was schools, high schools, and I guess other schools are not colleges, but schools are teaching kids what they should have been taught in like the 80s and 90s. So like way behind the curve. And you know, his premise was you got to teach people it's kids, what they're going to need to know in the next 20, 30 years, which is almost
Yes.
impossible to predict, right? And that was his whole thing. And
Mhm.
right after that, I went home and got an account on ChatGPT. So
Good,
so
good
I've been
deal.
using it, having a lot of fun. And I've also started with the in Edge, the ChatGPT 4 and some of the other stuff. Just play
Yeah,
around
through
with those things.
Copilot.
The Copilot, exactly. And it's
Do
really
you use
helpful.
it for any of your financial work?
Only in that it's to explain concepts, right? So not numbers or anything like that.
Mhm.
But when I do financial literacy webinars, sometimes I'll change the phrasing to make it a little simpler, a little more detailed, that kind of thing, to help people understand a little bit better.
Yeah, you know, GPT is about typically text. It's not designed
Right.
for numbers. But if you prompt it, ChatGPT 4, if you say, give whatever number problem you have and say, use the Python interpreter,
Oh.
your accuracy goes up.
You still might not get the right answer though, huh?
Still might not, but the chances are increased substantially that you will.
Right. What are, besides GPT 3, 4, and what was the Quill? What else did you say? It was a
Quillbot?
Quillbot, and what was the one you just said? I'm glad this is being recorded. Right.
Copilot.
Copilot is what I'm already using. What other things that, and like you said, things are coming out every day. What do you see things we should look for and take advantage of sooner than later?
So image generation is a big thing.
Oh,
You can
right,
create
exactly.
photographs, images, watercolor paintings. Mid-Journey right
Oh.
now seems to be the best quality.
Yeah.
However, Meta has come out with an AI image generator. Adobe Firefly has images, and ChatGPT 4 has images through
Okay.
DALL-E 3.
Dolly.
So DALL-E 3, the advantage that has over the best one, which is Mid-Journey, is ease of use. Give it a simple basic prompt, create an image of this, and it does a nice job. With Mid-Journey, it's a little bit more complicated. You have to have a Discord account. You have to type the right commands. You have to give the
Okay.
right prompts. So even though it gives better output, it's a little bit more of a barrier for beginners. So in that case, ChatGPT and DALL-E 3 does a great job.
And that's part of the Edge Copilot system, right?
Yes.
Oh,
And I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before, Copilot came out with a paid version, which I just signed up for it last night, but I didn't have time to use it yet. But it's got ChatGPT integrated into Word, Excel, and PowerPoint.
oh, I did see that. Right.
Yeah, so that's huge. It's
Yeah, sure.
right there. So when you tell students you cannot use GPT for any of your work, my gosh, it's right there in their Word program.
Right, that they can't avoid it. That's right.
Yeah,
Because
they can't avoid it. And for future employment, they won't be able to avoid it either. So when you tell students you can't use GPT, is that really doing them a favor? Is that helping
Mm,
them get ready for their future job career?
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think you know, there's times when they shouldn't use it, but there's times when they absolutely should, and they have to get used to using it, and they have to get skilled at using
Mm,
it.
all right.
But there's, for example, Gamma app. Gamma, you tell it, create a presentation about nutrition. It will make all the slides, it'll generate the images, all the
Oh,
text, designed very nicely, and it's done in 10 seconds. You
wow.
have a really great presentation.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now there's other companies where, like Runway, you give it an image that you created on Dolly 3 or Midjourney, give it an image, it will turn it into a video to where it's
A
moving.
video.
Yeah. And then you have all the voice cloning, like
Oh, yeah,
11
that's right.
Labs, others, where Google has one, 3 seconds of your voice, and they can have it read an entire ebook, and you cannot tell that it was not your
You can't tell
voice.
from your own voice. That's
You
amazing.
can't tell just from 3 second sample. Now that's the positive, great things of it. But the voice cloning, of course, is kind of horrifying in many ways because there's
Yeah.
scammers. They call your voicemail, they record your voice, they clone it, and then they call your grandmother and say, "Hey, this is Missy. I
Mm,
need you to send $300 to this.
yeah.
I'm in trouble."
Yeah.
And then the money gets
There
sent.
you
So there's a
go.
lot of scams. The one early on with the image generation that made the news, they had Donald Trump wearing the white puffy jacket and being arrested by the police.
Yeah.
Totally fake.
Totally.
Everybody believed it, including the news stations. Um, but yeah, there can be a lot of harm that's done with the fake images, the fake voice. So people have, that comes in with AI literacy. People have to be aware that these
Aware.
tools exist and how they work and that these things can be done so that they don't fall prey to all these horrible, horrible hackers and just scum of the earth people.
Sure, sure, sure. Well, I'll tell you, Tim, this has been an awesome discussion. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm sure we'll have continue conversations later on. So everybody out there, if you know somebody who's doing some extraordinary things like Tim is, please send them our way, and we'll be happy to kind of get them on the show. Just remember that whether it's your business, your community group, or your family, even it's money that make those gears keep turning. Make sure your money is working for the most efficient way possible. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah.